Hello everyone, we are back with the Rams franchise, and today we're going to be getting through the entire offseason. This past year we did finish with a winning record of 9-8. It was not good enough to win the NFC West, but it was good enough to make the postseason as the West wildcard team in the NFC. Unfortunately, in the postseason we did lose right away to the rival 49ers in the wildcard round, but I would still call this year an overall success. On offense, the main thing I want to fix is the offensive line. It allowed the most sacks in the entire NFL this past year, and it needs a complete overhaul. On defense, I think we're a bit better off here with the young talent that we have, but I do want to add some starters to this side of the ball. The first move we're going to be making this offseason is to hire a new offensive coordinator because our old OC, Gerard Larson, he decided to leave to be the Texans OC. The new offensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams will be Mike McDaniel. The ex-head coach of the Miami Dolphins, he got fired from there. I guess it didn't go well like it has in real life, but we'll take him as our OC. We do have to release a couple of veterans, the first one being Matthew Stafford, and it actually does not free up any cap space, but it was just the right thing to do for both him and for us. Now, the release of Joseph Noteboom, it does make up for the release of Matthew Stafford, by actually freeing up a total of $4 million if you combine those two. With that out of the way, we are going to move on to the re-signing period where we will start with quarterback Josh Rosen, who put together a great year. Yet despite that great year, his contract demands are extremely low, and that just does not make any sense to me. If you compare Josh Rosen's past year to Geno Smith's 2022 season, they are very similar. And after Geno Smith had that big year, what did he get? Well, he got a big contract, and that is exactly what we are going to offer to Josh Rosen. A 3-year, $75 million contract to be our franchise quarterback moving forward, and of course he is going to accept this contract. I really hope that it works out for both of us. On defense, Gerard Clark, he had a solid rookie season, and I do want to keep him around to be a backup interior defensive lineman for us, so we will offer him a 2-year, $5 million deal to be exactly that. And he will accept as well. So we are 2 for 2 on the players that we've wanted to re-sign. Michael Hoyt, he ended up going up to star depth at the very end of the season, and I do want to bring him back, not necessarily as a full-time starter, but as a good depth piece, and he's going to accept a 2-year, $8 million deal. Kelvin Joseph had an incredible run with us to end the year. He picked off 5 passes in 12 games if you include that playoff game, so we do want to bring him back. We will offer him a 2-year, $6 million extension, and he's actually going to decline and test out free agency, so if we want to bring him back, we'll have to check out what his market looks like in free agency. Josh Metellus, we will also offer a 2-year, $6 million extension to. He is a very versatile player. He can play some backup safety, some coverage linebacker, even some nickel cornerback, and he does accept his offer. We are going to be moving on from Cam Akers and Van Jefferson. I just don't see a point in bringing them back for the current price point that they're sitting at contract demand wise. Michael Carter we may bring back. It just depends on what the free agent market looks like at running back. And Kelvin Joseph, I already tried to extend him, but we'll have to try and get him back in free agency, I guess, instead. We have about $80 million in cap space to spend in free agency to try and make this team better, and the first offer I'm going to put out there is to Josh Allen, the top available edge rusher on the free agent market. He is coming off a great year with the Jaguars, where he had 10.5 sacks and 17 tackles for loss, and I just believe it's a no-brainer to try and pair him with Byron Young at edge rusher, have a nice 1-2 punch there for the long term. So we offer Josh Allen a 5-year, $85 million contract, and that is going to put us up there with the Titans and Lions, who are both also trying to go for the top available edge rusher on the free agent market. Devin White is the second guy we are going to go after. He had a solid year again this past year, where he had over 100 tackles. He's done that for pretty much every year of his entire NFL career. He's a former Super Bowl champion. He's got great athleticism, and I feel like he'd be the perfect linebacker to pair with Ernest Jones. So we offer him a 4-year, $36 million contract, and that does put us at the top of his top offer list above the Colts and Vikings. We are in need of another wide receiver, and Mike Williams is available. The 6'4", 29-year-old is coming off of another 1,000-yard regular season. He helped the Chargers win a Super Bowl in the postseason, and he can win deep down the field. He can win over the middle of the field. I feel like he is a perfect number 2 wide receiver behind Cooper Kupp. So we will offer him a 3-year, $45 million contract to be that. And we are trying to compete with the Texans and Cardinals for his services. The top available guard on the free agent market is Damian Lewis. He is coming off of a good year with the Seattle Seahawks, and this is a chance for us to not only add a starting guard, but also a chance to take away a good player from a division rival. We will offer him a 2-year, $20 million deal to be one of our starting guards, and the great news is that there are no other offers for him right now, so we have a really good chance of getting him. Tony Pollard is available in free agency. It is for a good reason though. He is coming off of a season where he only played in 12 games, and he is now 27 years old, which, when you turn that age as a running back, you start to decline. And yeah, he did score 12 touchdowns, but again, he did get injured, and the Cowboys, they want to move on from him, it looks like. We will offer him a 1-year, $7 million deal to be our starting running back. We'll see if we end up getting him. We are the only offer he has at the moment. We do end up getting Devin White in the first round of free agency, which is great news, but we also get some bad news. Josh Allen has decided to sign with the Detroit Lions on a 4-year contract, so we miss out on him. We also have a lot more competition for Tony Pollard. The Chiefs and Falcons are going for him and have a similar offer to what we have out there, and Mike Williams now has a huge offer from the Lions. We have to find a different edge rusher in free agency, and Frankie Louvu is the next best available. He is coming off of a season where he only had 3.5 sacks. He did miss some time. He only played in 14 games, but that's not exactly what I was hoping for in free agency at edge rusher. But we will offer him a contract, a 1-year, $7.5 million deal to be at least a situational player for us. We are the only offer he has out there right now. OJ Howard is out there at tight end, and I'm interested in bringing him in. He played for the Packers this past year and was pretty good. He is a former first-round pick that has some good athleticism. He can also run block a little bit, and you can see, 60 catches, 639 yards, and 6 touchdowns as the Packers tight end this past year. We will offer him a 2-year, $6 million deal that will not really hurt us if he ends up sucking, and we are the only offer he has out there at the moment. We are also going to increase our offer to Mike Williams by a little bit, up to now 3 years at $48 million. We'll see if that is enough for us to get him over the Detroit Lions, who already stole one player from us. We do end up getting Mike Williams to accept his offer, so we have added a number 2 wide receiver and a starting middle linebacker, and unfortunately Tony Pollard has even more competition, and the Falcons have topped our offer, which doesn't really make sense to me because they already have a ton of running backs, but whatever. Josh Jones is an available tackle. We do have a need at tackle, at least for some depth, and he is coming off of a year with the Cardinals where he did play in 15 games and was pretty good in them. We'll offer him a 1-year, $5 million deal to at least be a stopgap tackle option if we can't find anything in the draft. We are also going to increase the offer to Tony Pollard up to $8.7 million over just 1 year, and that does put us in a similar range to the Falcons offer. Tony Pollard, for some reason, is signed with the Atlanta Falcons. It makes no sense to me when they already have Bijan Robinson, who they just spent a first-round pick on, and Tyler Algier, who had a promising rookie year just 2 years ago, but now he's going to be third on their depth chart behind Tony Pollard and Bijan Robinson. So we have to go after a different running back in free agency. That is going to be Antonio Gibson, who didn't have the best year this past year with the Commanders, but he did run for over 1,000 yards back in 2021. And he does have the potential, in my opinion, to be an every down running back with his size, speed, and pass catching skill combo. So we will offer him a 1-year, $3.5 million deal too. We do have to increase the offer to Damian Lewis. It is up to $22.4 million over 2 years, and that is going to put us above the Texans and above the Cardinals offers. We do end up getting Damian Lewis to accept his 2-year deal, and he will be a starting guard for us, opposite of Steve Avila, likely at right guard. Steve Avila will stay at left guard. We also get OJ Howard to accept his contract, and he will likely be our starting tight end this year. Jumping through the rest of our free agent signings, we'll start with Blaine Gabbert, who we brought in just because mostly he's got that mentor tag. It could help out Josh Rosen and our other quarterbacks on the roster. Antonio Gibson signs his 1-year contract. Michael Carter has been brought back on a cheap 1-year, $1 million deal. We have also brought in Foreman, who can push Antonio Gibson for the early down back role. Josiah DeGuara has been brought back on a cheap 1-year deal. No guarantees that he makes the roster, but he can at least have a chance to make it. Josh Jones signs a 1-year contract with us as well to compete for a starting tackle spot. Joseph Noteboom, surprisingly, he had no market, so we brought him back on a 1-year, $1.1 million deal, meaning that by releasing him and signing him back, we actually saved $9 million on just his contract by himself. Larry Ogunjobi signs to be a potential interior defensive lineman starter for us. Kyrese Tonga, he could be a backup interior defensive lineman for us. DJ Wanham ends up being the edge rusher that we signed. Unfortunately, we did miss out on Frankie Louvu. Kelvin Joseph, he signed the exact same contract that we gave him before free agency. Logan Ryan has been brought in to be a backup free safety and a mentor for Jason Taylor II. Here are the notable signings from around the NFL. Kirk Cousins signs with the Tennessee Titans to be their starting quarterback. Austin Eckler is going to be heading to the division rival Arizona Cardinals. It looks like we swapped running backs with the Washington Commanders. We, of course, signed Antonio Gibson. They signed Cam Akers. Amari Cooper is joining Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison in Minnesota, forming an elite receiving trio. Keenan Allen, he leaves the Chargers as well, just like Austin Eckler and Mike Williams, but he ends up joining the Houston Texans. Van Jefferson, he goes to Detroit. They missed out on Mike Williams, but they at least get a backup option in Van Jefferson. Noah Fant, he'll head to the Colts. Kevin Dotson is going to be replacing Damian Lewis on the division rival Seahawks as one of their starting guards. DJ Reader is going to join the Minnesota Vikings, filling a huge hole they had on their defensive line. Eric Armstead, thankfully, is out of the division, away from the 49ers, now with the Houston Texans as he joins his old defensive coordinator, who is now the head coach of the Texans in D'Amico Ryans. Frankie Louvu joins the Tennessee Titans. Bobby Wagner, he leaves the Seahawks again, this time joining the Detroit Lions. Patrick Queen, he'll head to the Texans as well, as they did a pretty good job in free agency of adding some talent. Jordan Brooks, he'll leave Seattle and head to Philadelphia. That is going to be all for free agency. We can now move on and start talking about the draft, where we have 8 selections in it at the moment, including a first rounder for the first time since 2016. Yeah, the Rams have not used a first round pick since 2016 when they took Jared Goff. We did already extend Josh Rosen, so we already have a quarterback. We're not going to be taking one in the first round. And I do already have a pretty good idea of who I want to take in the first round. We'll get to that, though, in a little bit. For now, let's talk about some private workouts that we hosted. We had one for James Blade, Mario Odin, and Kyrie Foster. James Blade is a 6'9" wide receiver, so a huge receiver. He is 23 years old, though, so an older draft prospect. You like the 40-yard dash for somebody of his size, and really a great vertical and broad jump for a 6'9" wide receiver. He does have some major red flags, though. D catching, D release, F medium route running, F deep route running. That is all very concerning to me. Mario Odin, a 6'7", 331-pound tackle out of USC. He is projected to go in the second or third round, just like James Blade is. Now, Odin, his red flags are he's got major injury concerns. He ended up missing the NFL Combine, and you can see his injury rating is a D, and his talent is third or fourth round when he is projected to go in the second or third. Kyrie Foster, the last private workout that we hosted, he's a huge defensive tackle out of Stanford at 6'2", 338. He had the best bench press at both the NFL Combine and his pro day. And to me, it looks like he is a great run stopper, but he has red flags as well. The pass rushing skills aren't there yet, and he also does have some injury concerns. The player I want to take in the first round is cornerback Addison Caver. The problem with that is that he is moving up draft boards. He was projected to go to us in every single mock draft up until this last one. He is now projected to go at 16, and we pick at 20. You can see why immediately I like him. He is a 6'2" corner with elite speed, with a great 3-cone drill, a good vertical, A-man, B-zone, A-to-B awareness. He looks like he's going to be a star from day one, and I do want to take him. But he is projected to go ahead of where we're going to be picking. They right now have us taking a different cornerback in Kerry Tarpley, who is 5'10", 187, 22 years old out of Stanford, and he's not even really close to me to being the same type of player as Addison Caver. He's not really a big corner at only 5'10", and he's not really the most athletic corner. He's not really a bad athlete, but he's not the most athletic. He could have bad man, and his awareness, it's a pretty big variance between the two. Let's just go ahead though and get right into the draft and see what ends up happening. The Arizona Cardinals at pick number 1 do end up selecting the edge rusher out of NIU in Will Dale. The first quarterback to go in this year's draft is Chip Kendrick. He goes at pick number 5 to the Washington Commanders. He looks like he'll be a star from day one. Zach Patton, an edge rusher out of BYU. We had our eye on him for a while. He'll go inside the top 10 to the Chicago Bears. The Cardinals took an edge rusher at pick 1, and now they go defense again, this time taking cornerback Maurice Stewart at pick 11. Sherrod Hazelwood, another edge rusher that we were hoping maybe could fall to us in the draft, he goes at pick 13 to the Baltimore Ravens. J.D. Carr, he'll go the pick after him to the Seattle Seahawks as they try to shore up their offensive line. This is the spot where we have to trade up. We are going to trade with the Indianapolis Colts, giving up pick 20, a 4th round pick in this year's draft, and cornerback Kobe Durant to move up to pick 15. And I mean, it made it pretty clear. We are going to be selecting cornerback Addison Caver, the 6'2" man out of Northwestern, who had the best 40-yard dash at both his pro day and the NFL Combine of any cornerback. He's got good man, good zone. The awareness is going to be high, so we'll select him. And he's got hidden dev 95 speed, 91 jumping, 88 change of direction, 95 excel. If he could cover really at all, he's going to be a starting cornerback for us on day one. The Raiders appear to be ready to move on from Jimmy G as they take a quarterback in the 1st round in John Smith out of Texas A&M. Kerry Tarpley, the cornerback that the mock draft had us taking at pick 20, he falls to pick 24 and heads to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The West NFC West team to pick in the 1st round, the 49ers, they take Sidney Scott, a free safety out of Wisconsin. The quarterback taken next is Carl Crane. He goes to the Arizona Cardinals with the 1st pick in the 2nd round. Jonathan Quancy is going to head to the Commanders and join Chip Kendrick as they try to form a nice 1-2 punch. And I think this is a spot where we might want to try and trade up. I want to take a tackle in this year's draft, and Melvin Francois, to me, looks like maybe the best one left. A 6'5", 21-year-old out of Boise State. He had the 2nd best bench press of any left tackle at the Combine and Pro Day. He has very similar ratings to Mario Odin. The most notable change, though, is he doesn't have any injury concerns. And if you took away the injury concerns from Mario Odin, I would probably say they are pretty much the same player. But I think we are going to try and trade up here to select Melvin Francois with a pick here in the 2nd round. And we do get a trade to go through. We had to give up a lot. We gave up a 2nd round pick this year, a 3rd and 6th next year, and a 5th and 7th in the 2026 draft to move up to select Melvin Francois, who does have hidden dev. He's got 90 strength, 68 speed. We'll see if he's got good enough ratings to be a day 1 starter for us or not at left tackle. Advancing on through the 2nd round, the Seattle Seahawks do select Kyrie Foster. Very unfortunate for us. He was really the only interior defensive lineman that I wanted in this year's draft. Mario Odin, he goes in the 2nd round to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And we are now back on the clock with the 26th pick in the 2nd round. And we are going to probably try and trade back because James Blade is the player I do want to draft. But right now he's the 5th wide receiver on the overall big board. And we can move back a couple of spots and still get him. And then pick up a 7th round pick later in this year's draft. And a 6th round pick in the draft next year from the Eagles. And the Eagles trade up to take a quarterback in Mike Bragg. It looks like a pretty interesting one. And James Blade does end up going a bit later. He goes before we had a chance to take him. He'll head to the Buffalo Bills. So what do we do now after missing out on James Blade? We have a couple of options. Chad Smith, a linebacker out of Oregon State, is one of them. He had a great combine and pro day across the board, nearly at the top of everything. B awareness, A tackling, but he does have some concerns with the coverage and also some concerns with his size to be a middle linebacker. Brian Sandwich is another option, a 6'2" interior offensive lineman out of Texas, and he is actually the only interior offensive lineman that I think is maybe a potential day one starter in this draft. He's got A pass block, B run block, A awareness. We take him, and he's got 87 strength with that hidden dev. Is he going to be good enough to be a day one starter for us on our offensive line, or is it going to be more of a project? I guess we'll see. The Patriots, a few picks later, would end up taking Chad Smith, and that's actually going to start a run of linebackers in the third round. Another one going off the board at pick 8 to the Panthers in Clyde Branch, and that is where I decided enough was enough. We're going to trade up and get our guy at middle linebacker in Lonnie Culliver, a bigger linebacker at 6'4" with good speed and strength for somebody of his size. You like the play rec, you like the awareness. He obviously would need some work on his coverage and some other stuff, but I'm willing to draft him, so we had to work a trade out with the division rival Cardinals, giving up a 4th this year and a 3rd and 6th in next year's draft. It is to select Lonnie Culliver with the 9th pick in the 3rd round. He's got hidden dev, 85 speed, 77 strength, 83 excel. A lot of things to like just based upon his size and athleticism. We'll see what the ratings overall wise look like after the draft. And more linebackers would continue to go throughout the 3rd round, including the Seahawks taking a linebacker of their own in Carl Robinson with the 19th pick in the 3rd round. That would bring us up, but we are going to be trading out of this spot, sending it to the Jaguars for a 3rd, 4th, and 6th in next year's draft and a 7th in this year's draft. Unfortunately, after that trade, a lot of guys would go that I thought would be available later in the draft that maybe we could trade back up into the 4th round for, like Joey Griffey, a running back who has a high ceiling but major injury concerns, a quarterback in Xavier Swain. He goes to the Chiefs, and Chris Freeman, he went in the early 4th round. I thought he might be available in like the 5th or 6th round. Dakota Allen, the same thing. He goes in the 4th round. And finally, we are back up at pick 20, but after seeing all those guys go that I thought may be available in this range or close to it where we could trade up to get them, they all went, so we trade back with the 49ers, getting a 6th round pick in this year's draft and a future 5th. But again, we're going to be making one more trade, giving up our own 6th round pick to the Minnesota Vikings to get a pair of future 6th round picks. Now we are not going to be making any more trades the rest of the way. We'll just stick and pick. First up here in the 6th round, near the end of it, we're going to select a quarterback in Ben Portis, who is only 21 years old, out of Louisiana Tech. He had the best combine and pro day of any quarterback, running an elite 40-yard dash. He doesn't have the best accuracies or the highest awareness, but why not take a chance on him late in the draft? He's only got normal dev and 93 throw power, though. That's pretty impressive. 89 excel and 87 speed. A pretty intriguing player to get late in the 6th round. Now in the 7th round, with the first pick in the 7th round, we are going to select a wide receiver out of Buffalo in Vernon Hitchens, who is 6'5", 231, 22 years old. He had an elite combine in pro day. I have no idea why he was still available this late in the draft. He doesn't have the best awareness, but he's got pretty good hands. Maybe not the best route running. Still, we take a chance on him. Normal dev, 91 speed, 92 jumping, 91 change of direction. Pretty impressive for a 6'5", 230-pound wide receiver. With our last pick in the draft, the 21st pick in the 7th round, we are going to select a fullback in Owen Fox. The reason being, Mike McDaniel, in order to run his style of offense, he needs a fullback. They used one at one of the higher rates in the entire NFL in Miami, and now that he's with us in Los Angeles, we need to get him a fullback, and we're going to take Owen Fox, a pretty interesting one. 83 strength, 77 speed, 84 agility. He is 24 years old, but he should have a high overall. With the draft being over, we can now go ahead and check out all our draft picks. We'll start with the first pick that we made, Addison Caver. He, of course, has that hidden development and is a 78 overall. With 80 man, 76 zone, the play rec's high, the catching needs some work, the tackling needs some work, the press needs some work, but I do see a lot of things to like about Addison Caver, and I could definitely see him. He probably should be, I should say, a starting cornerback from day one for us. Melvin Francois is a 71 overall with pretty good ratings. I don't think there's anything that's terrible. The run block finesse, I guess, is not the best. He does not have any injury concerns, which is good news. That was the main reason that we did take him over Mario Odin. Ryan Sandridge is a 75 overall. And I did talk about it in the offseason preview episode. If we were to draft him, and we did end up taking him, we're going to be slotting him to center. And it looks like he is probably best suited to play center based upon his ratings, but I could see him being a day one starter pretty easily. Lonnie Culliver, a 76 overall. I was not expecting that. I thought he'd be a bit lower of an overall, but still maybe have hidden dev. He's got 78 block shedding, 77 play rec, 74 awareness. The only thing he needs to work on is the coverage. His man's a 56 and his zone is a 60. Ben Portis is a 65 overall. I didn't have the highest expectations for him. I thought maybe he could just be an interesting gadget type of player, but he looks like he could actually develop into something. 79 short accuracy with that type of throw power and that type of athleticism. He could be a type of player that we throw out there for a couple of plays, and he could help us pick up a first down. Vernon Hitchens is a 69 overall. The short route running isn't terrible, and his hands are better than what I thought they would be, even though the ratings were not that bad on his draft card. But he looks like he is going to make the team if he has himself a good training camp in preseason. Owen Fox is a 71 overall, and he does have some pretty solid ratings to potentially be our fullback on this roster that Mike McDaniel needs. Or we could also end up running with Josiah DeGora again, but we would probably just switch him to fullback if that ends up being the case. Checking out some other players from this draft, the Cardinals were able to knock the draft out of the park, getting Will Dale at pick 1 and Maurice Stewart at pick 11. They may have just transformed their defense. Then on offense, they were also able to add to that side of the ball, getting Carl Crane, a potential franchise quarterback, and Alex Green, a tight end that has hidden dev as well. The 49ers, they didn't get as many great picks as the Cardinals, but they still got 3 hidden dev guys. A free safety in Sidney Scott, who should start from day 1, Cordell Gilmore, who could take over in a few years for them, and Nick Proctor, who reminds me a lot of Frank Gore, even wears the same number, came from the same school, and he's got 99 break tackle. That is some bad news for our defense. The Seahawks, they were just trying to shore up the trenches on both offense and defense, it felt like this offseason, and they did a pretty good job of that in the draft, getting J.D. Carr, who should be a day 1 starter, Kyrie Foster, who will be a day 1 starter, and Johnny Owens, a run-blocking tight end that is probably the best run-blocking tight end in the draft. Some other huge picks from this draft, you can see Chip Kendrick. He is going to be a franchise changer. 99 throw power, 82 overall. Yeah, rookie of the year right there. It's pretty much wrapped up, right? John Smith, he is also hidden dev, and he could take over for the Raiders at any point with Jimmy G not looking the best. Mike Bragg, the guy that we allowed the Eagles to trade up and select, well, he's got hidden dev and has 99 throw power. So Jalen Hurts has a very capable backup quarterback. There is one other hidden dev quarterback in this draft class. It is Bryce McCann, and he's got future starter written all over him with his accuracies being as good as they are and having that hidden development. It's a good thing that we ended up missing out on a couple of players that I thought about drafting. Xavier Swain and Dakota Allen, a couple of quarterbacks we thought about taking in the middle rounds. They both only had normal dev. Zach Patton and Sherrod Hazelwood, 2 guys that I thought we could take if they fell to us in the first round. Well, they both also only have normal dev. Kerry Tarpley, who we ended up passing on and trading up to select Addison Caver instead of, he looks pretty solid. He's got hidden dev and the coverage ratings are pretty decent, so maybe we didn't have to trade up. Mario Odin, only normal dev. The ratings are pretty similar to Francois, but the injury rating is 10 less, so I think we'll take Melvin Francois over him any day. James Blade, only normal dev. And had we had a chance to take him at the end of that second round, I would have drafted him. But I guess it's probably a good thing that we didn't have a chance to take him. Now Joey Griffey, we did miss on him. Hidden dev, 74 overall, 94 speed, 92 change of direction. He'll be a great backup for Josh Jacobs. But that is going to be all for the off-season episode. I want to hear your thoughts down below on what you thought we did this off-season and what we should have done maybe different. In the next episode, we'll get through training camp and the preseason. Thanks for watching this one, and I'll see you in the next one.